Now, the world's attention has been on the Vatican after the death and funeral of Pope Francis last month. And then the conclave and announcement of Pope Leo XIV this week. Well, for one Australian woman, it's all been very personal.
Unexpectedly, Theresa Ardler also met the newest Pope days before his appointment was decided. The Gadigal, Bidjigal, Gumbaynggirr and Wandiwandian lecturer at Notre Dame joins us now from her home at Rekva Aboriginal Community on the New South Wales South Coast. Good morning. Welcome to Weekend Breakfast.
Good morning.
You've just returned home after that long trip back from Rome where you made a pilgrimage. Just to begin with, how are you feeling?
A bit exhausted, but at the same time, it was a blessing that I was in Rome at that time for my birthday. Yes.
And in fact, you had a very special meeting on your birthday. Tell me about that, Theresa, and your friendship with the late Pope.
Yeah, I got to meet Pope Francis a couple of times when I was in Rome. And that was to do with his encyclica on Laudato Si, which is talking about climate change and how it impacts all walks of life, especially First Nations people that live in the marginal areas and the peripheries around the world that are struggling, but understand their ways of knowing and doing in regards to their cultural lens in looking after country.
And in fact, he invited you to meet with him on your birthday. How did that come about and what was that like?
Yeah, it was, I've always been close with the family and his nephew Josie. So, yeah, he belongs to Maria, his sister. And so, yeah, I received a phone call around, would have been around 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And I got picked up by a black BMW with two men in black suits. And they drove me to Santa Marta, where he lives. And I got to spend some time with him, a couple of hours, and which was very beautiful. And he always greeted me with Theresa. You know, he was in his wheelchair still, and he couldn't really talk much. And but he gave me a beautiful rosary that I will cherish for the rest of my life. You know, I sort of knew it wasn't long because he just wasn't his bubbly self, and because he couldn't breathe. And yeah, so it was a lovely time, but also very sad for me. But he leaves a long legacy with me in still working towards his encyclica and being part of on a world stage with other people just like me around the world that work with Laudato Si, and looking at how we continue to look after our country, our waterways, our sea and ocean, and from our old traditional practices, and because of what climate change is doing, and promote that we need to really care for our country.
Yeah, and Theresa, I understand that you came to meet who is the now new Pope days before the conclave. What happened?
I was at the burial, and I was with his nephew Mario Bergoglio, and we went to, because I was staying in Costa Road from just walking distance to St Mary Major, the Basilica, where he always used to go and pray. And in his last few days, he just used to go in a car and sit outside in the car and just pray, you know, to Mary, Our Lady was very precious to him, very important. And so we was waiting for him to arrive. We was in the Basilica waiting for him and the cardinals. And never been to a pontiff's burial. So, and I guess he's the first in many, many years to be not buried in the Vatican. Because it's only cardinals that go down to the burial. So to be present at the burial was it was overwhelming, but very beautiful. And afterwards, a few of the cardinals came up and said hello to me and Mario, and one of them was Cardinal Robert from Peru. I didn't think he doesn't really have much of an American accent, because he also he speaks very fluent in Italian and stuff. But he knew I was close with Pope Francis, and what I love about what he said to me was that he is very much in line with Pope Francis because of the marginalised. He really cares about the marginalised people around the world, and who live in the peripheries, like Indigenous people. So he worked a lot with them in Peru, and he got to know them like family. So he really, I didn't know he was going to be the next Pope, but it was a lovely conversation that I had with him. Yeah. And I feel it was a great blessing.
What a very special conversation indeed. Theresa Ardler, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you along.
Thank you very much. All the best. Bye-bye.